Hey guys, it's Joe, Jim, and Justin, the 3 J's on Tuning Tuesday, episode 38. Want to take a second to introduce yourself, Jim, for the people that are in the dark and don't know who you are?
My name is Jim Ferraro. I'm the East Coast Sales Manager for HPtuners. I handle warehouses, WDs, tuner shops, and basically I help bring HPtuners to the masses.
Nice.
The purveyor of fine HPtuners tuning.
Yes, yes. And we all have supercharged F150s, so...
By the way.
Yes.
Yeah, all the aluminum F-150 sitting right here. Because you're crew cab 2-wheel drive, or are you 4-wheel drive?
No, mine's a crew cab 4-wheel drive.
And yours is a crew cab 4-wheel drive.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm the odd man out. I'm the single cab 2-wheel drive.
You have no traction.
Yeah. It tries with traction, though.
Drag tires on it yet?
It's still on Michelin's, 245 7017s. It needs a set of tires on it. It needs a suspension I have for it put on.
It needs a lot of stuff, Joe.
It does.
We have
it
a
needs
place.
a Gen 3 and all sorts of fun stuff.
We have a place that does that stuff.
We do. We do. It's full right now, though.
It is. It is.
But
Yeah, my suspension's been sitting on my floor for about 2 months.
You're in the same boat as I am.
I told you
Yeah.
we'd put that in for you.
I know. I need to get the wheels. So luckily, I got some custom fin speed wheels coming. They're 22 by 10.5, but we had to measure the size and offset. So now that I've got them on order, we can put the suspension in. Because you know how stock wheels are with a lower truck, it gets all tucked.
They sucked in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I kind of held back until I got the wheels.
See, my truck is still a work truck. It's got 42,000 miles on it. It's got some scratches. It pulls a trailer, a car, whatever shit we throw in the back.
We did just get new wheels and stuff for it.
I did, and that's what I was going to say. You're talking about these fin speed wheels. I got some factory 20s and had them black powder coated.
Nice.
And, you know, that's high end for me over here.
Yeah.
Our
You
buddy
got a
Dorian
sway bar,
Johnson's chiming in and says F-150 crew for the win.
That's
Exactly.
right. Yeah, dude, Dorian has a fast truck. I think
Yeah,
he's
he
running
does.
10-somethings in his
That
truck.
truck's hauling ass. I think it's 1070s or 1080s. I got to go out there and have some fun with
I
it
know,
in
right?
October.
Once we get into our racing season here in Florida, Dorian, we're gonna rock your world with our 6-speed autos. You got that 10-speed.
That 10-speed game.
What was it I heard someone say about 10-speed? 10-speed just makes slow cars fast. Fast cars have a 6-speed.
I could be down with that.
I have a 6-speed.
Jim, can you talk just a little bit louder? They're having a hard time hearing you.
No problem. You know what I'll do is I'll move my mic up too.
Yeah, get
How's
it.
that?
Get it pointed out. Any better?
Should be all right.
Yeah, we'll assume it's better.
Dorian,
Yeah.
is that better? He's the one that's chiming in.
Oh, I got to put my phone on silent. Where do you guys want to take this first? You guys want to talk about this fancy new MPVI2?
The MPVI2. So this is the latest tuning device from HPtuners. It's called the MPVI2. It replaces the MPVI1. Will tune Ford, GM, Dodge, Volkswagen, Audi, Toyota, Nissan, Land Rover, and several other applications, including Infiniti.
I saw Mercedes on that list too.
Mercedes is on the list, yeah.
Oh,
and we
man.
recently expanded coverage to some of the newer C63 and that generation type vehicle, the turbo cars. And mainly it allows you to read out your factory calibration, make whatever changes you need, flash the changes back in. You do not have to sell the customer a tuner. If you don't want, you can offer tuning as a service using this device, provided that it's not a remote situation. If it's remote, the customer can have their own MPVI2 or an Engage, and they can receive their tune from the tuner shop.
Nice.
So, but,
Kind of a powerful little tool wrapped up in a small package.
yeah, it does have Bluetooth capability. So we have an app called TrackAddict that you can get on the App Store and also on Google Play. And that connects via Bluetooth to the MPVI2. So if you have the MPVI2 plugged into your OBD2 port, you can actually connect your phone to it using TrackAddict and monitor some of the data right there in the video. And you can record that video live. So
Nice.
kind of a cool feature we launched just for the MPVI2.
That's awesome. Does it do any type of data logging through the Bluetooth connection on the phone, or even just display of parameters?
It does display some parameters. Naturally, data logging is a little bit slower over Bluetooth. It's just a limitation of the technology. But if you're doing some hardcore tuning and needs a data log, you can still plug in the USB cable, and that goes into your OBD2 port. Sorry, it goes into your laptop. And then your laptop plugs into your OBD2 port, and you can data log live.
Nice. I was curious for the guys out there that run the Torque app.
Yep.
That have to get a Bluetooth dongle that connects to the OBD2 port anyways. Could this be a means by which they could just keep from having to use two different applications, HPtuners and the Torque app, if they could just monitor some parameters on their phone like they do with the Torque app already?
I'm not too familiar with the torque app, so I don't know what the differences are in the parameters, but in theory, yes, you can connect with this via Bluetooth and monitor data.
Nice.
So, and again, if the Bluetooth connection is not enough, you can also do it via USB.
Awesome. I guess we'll start taking some questions on anything you guys do or any other questions people have about late model Mustang or Ford stuff.
Yeah. Larry says he thinks your mic is too low on your shirt. They're still saying you're a bit on the quiet side.
All right, I'm going to bring it up a little higher.
Everybody else sounds good, but you're a bit on the quiet side.
It's funny because I'm not really talking quietly.
I know.
There you go.
Try that.
I'll try to talk louder with a higher mic.
All right, guys, let us know if that's better. We are making adjustments on our end. Bennett, I'm getting thumbs up. So Bennett says, hey Justin, what all is involved in a TH400 swap on my 12 GT500? Can I retain my speedo? Any surprises?
Retaining the speedo on a Turbo 400 is very doable. There's a lot of different ways to do it. There's collars that go on the yoke that are kind of, I want to say they're archaic because you have to make a bracket. Turbo 400s like come with a speedo pickup because it was used in a production vehicle, and then the racing community takes those out and blocks off that part. But actually, the short answer is yes. There's stuff out there to do it. Performance just came out with a part that goes in there and takes some of the common aftermarket sensors, and then you run it into. You can sometimes run that directly into the factory computer. If there's any conversion issues, you can use like a Dakota digital box, and not so much to change like the ratio because we can do all that in tuning, but to amplify and condition the signal. Because the factory stuff is usually like a powered 3-wire sensor. A lot of this aftermarket stuff is just a 2-wire unpowered sensor, so I don't think the signal quality is as good. But my preference is to have the speedo on the drive shaft because you can see wheel spin. If you have it like on a front ABS sensor, which is common, what are you going to do with that data other than just not get a speeding ticket?
Yeah, that's about all it'll be useful for, especially if you pick up the front tires.
Yeah.
Alan Howard chimed in and said he got the block-off plate today. Says thanks for sending it out, Justin.
Nice.
You're welcome. Oh yes, Alan. With the so Alan, everyone wants to know, when are you going to have your Gen 3 Terminator dyno results?
I guess we'll see.
I know there was a Gen 3 on the dyno at a certain shop in Michigan that made over 800 wheel, but they're not done with it yet, so they're not releasing the numbers.
So that was the first one.
That was third that we know of, I think.
Gotcha.
Because it was Ryan something at Mod Motor.
Rick's car, then Ryan at Mod Mafia Performance.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then this other one in Michigan.
And Ryan did over 800.
Did 856, I think, Carrie, is that right?
Through a 470.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So strong.
I mean, and these things are all on the shelf. Elbows are now in stock. Every elbow design is in stock. So, you know, you can buy yours and get it later this week or next week. Install it.
Larry Duran wants to know what amount of swing is, quote, okay with E85 considering my build.
Specifically speaking to Larry's build, you can, going down in ethanol content, as long as it's not below like E60, I'm okay with it. Your fuel trims are just going to get a little wacky if you're all the way down at E60. What I don't want to see is you going from E85 to E100 or E95 without a tune update. Yeah, exactly. I'm okay with you going down, just try not to go up too far. If you do ever find yourself in a situation where you get E90, just shoot me an email or you're on my Facebook, message me on Facebook and let me know.
Yeah, I mean, E90 is only 5% more, so
you're probably going to be okay, but I'd at least like to change a stoic point.
Yeah.
E98 starts to get a little hairy.
Yeah, so. And the only reason I say I'd want to change a stoic point is because it's closed loop at watt, but by the off chance you kill a wideband and it jumps out of closed loop and now it's 8% lean. Generally 8% wouldn't be the difference between make or break, but I Would
Yeah.
still like to have all our ducks in a row.
Tolerance stack up.
Larry says,
Yeah.
Roger, thanks, I'll let you know.
Exactly.
Alan chimed in as well. He said, Gen 3 results coming soon. I had to put new fuel pumps in, ran out of pump at like 4,500 RPM. Haha.
All these Gen 3s are making so much power, you have to build the car around it.
And that's what we
I'm
tried to
just-
say when we were talking about Rick's car back when we
Yeah.
released the data first.
And then Alan just came back. He says, Pool's hard as hell. Thanks for making a quality blower.
You're welcome, Alan. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for the feedback.
Thanks
And
for not being short-sighted and doing the whole coolant crossover tube. I have to bend it.
Justin Young chimed in, says he loves his 2650 and his 1,000 real wheel horsepower.
Hey, Justin, I was going to text you. Look who we got on the show today.
Right?
So Rob Shoemaker says that you're looking hot, Jim, these days.
Thanks, Robbie. Love you, man.
Oh, man. Next time I make a late night call to Robbie,
Hey,
I'll
Robbie,
know
how's
what's
Grandma doing?
coming.
Okay, Andrew's Cobra, Brian Mockridge said, Andrew's Cobra made 822 at the wheel with 20 pounds of boost and not done yet.
Nice.
Very nice.
Justin Young says, hi, Jim.
Hey, Justin.
John Hall says, hello, VMP, interested in the Gen 3 for my 08 GT500. In the tune you guys sell for that car, will the car be able to rev to 7,000 RPM? I'm trying to mimic the build you guys did on the YouTube video. Thanks and awesome product, guys.
On the file that we normally send out, your rev limiter isn't going to be $7,000. We normally don't recommend taking like an 0709 GT500 that high, just because rod durability. But if you specifically ask us to make your rev limiter $7,000, we can do that.
I mean, it can be done. There's certain crazy people with GT500 swapped Crown Vics that are doing that, but over all the years of tuning GT500s, the stock rev limiter is 6250 on the 07 and 12 cars, and we just bump it up to 65. There's not really any power up there. On the 1314, Ford put it at 7,000 RPM because they wanted to make a 0 to 60 time, the best possible 0 to 60 time, and keep the car in first gear up to 60 miles an hour. So that's kind of what necessitated that rev limiter.
That, and it'll only do it at certain oil temperatures.
Yeah, like inferred oil temp, which is based on coolant temp, has to be high enough. And I think the coolant temp is actually, threshold's like 186 Fahrenheit or something, because a lot of dyno poles, unless you really have a heat-soaked car, you won't hit it.
Sean Williams is excited. He says, awesome, because I sent HP tuner logs to Justin a few days ago, patiently waiting.
Nice.
So he's happy to see HP tuners here today. Bubba Blue wants to know, anyone from VMP plan to go to the next Texas 2K? He'd love to do a video with us, or at least any event around Houston. So are we going to Texas 2K next year?
I think we'll probably go out to Texas 2K again. It was a good time, Joe?
Yeah, I'm down with going again.
You want to go again?
That's your sandbox, whether we go or not.
Yeah, I know.
I'm always down to go to Texas 2K.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting out there more, doing different stuff and everything, doing some half-mile racing later this year, some Mustang week, you know, possibly some drag week, so...
You should take your truck out there.
Yeah, just got to get the suspension on. My thing is no street shenanigans out at Texas. I'm not about that life. I saw way too many people getting their cars impounded.
You saw that when you were riding around at night?
No, like I saw the posts on like the
posts.
TX2K pages and stuff.
Does anybody know a good lawyer in Houston?
Yeah,
Just call them
exactly.
before you arrive, because you're going to need them.
So Brian Mockridge wants to know, okay, HP tuner guy, what are the benefits of HP tuners over the others on the market?
Oh boy. All right. So a hotly contested issue. However, HP tuners, we pride ourselves with having greater access to definitions. We don't do tuning in-house. We focus on making the best tool. So we're not competing with our own dealers. We're providing a tool for our dealers. And you know, that's one of our main plights in business, is making sure that you have the tools you need to create a proper tune. So furthermore, with our MPVI2 device, if you're a tuner shop, you can provide tuning as a service without being forced to sell a device. You can sell a device if you like. However, you can just sell that tune as a direct flash. It's also good for the enthusiast. If you wanted to buy the tuning software and use it, it's not a very high startup cost. It's around $300, and you simply pay for credits for each vehicle you tune. So it's not a thousands of dollars proposition unless you're tuning thousands of vehicles.
Magical.
That's the short version. Like, we use it a lot internally. We don't necessarily talk about it a whole lot, but Joe and I use an HPtuners cable a couple times a week for different stuff. We work with the engineers over there. Rebecca's car, to get it to go as fast as it goes, is tuned with HPtuners. It gives us access to the technology that we need to go fast.
It's a beautiful thing.
Mark Conchola says HPtuners for the win. I am tuned with them on my 10.8 second 3.7 Mustang.
Yeah, you want to talk about a fast V6 Mustang? That's Mark's car. I mean, people talk a lot of trash to him, but most of them, he's faster. So.
What did you run back in the day?
10.9.
So you're right there with him.
127. Yeah, on a 1.6 or 1.7 60 foot before we knew what 60 footing was.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
That's in the blue car,
like,
right?
Yeah.
Was that like 2008, 2010 region?
No, that was 2005.
Dang.
By 2006, that car was kind of like off the road, actually.
Man.
Rick Height says, hi guys, car is running great.
Good to hear, Rick.
So excited. Peyton Lucas says, did we ever get dyno numbers on the 1970 Mustang Coyote swap? What transmission was in the car?
It was a T56 Magnum XL. I'd have to look at the file. I want to say it was a 297 ratio, T56 Magnum XL. And it was 650 and 580. I think we showed that in one of the, maybe not last Tuning Tuesday, but the Tuning Tuesday before. We showed a dyno graph and stuff in there. If you want to go back and look, it's probably within the first 30 minutes of the episode.
Came out good.
Made some good power for a pump gas car.
Little Gen 2R, making some power.
Chad Dowd. Oh, he's got some video or B-roll of it right there, actually. So
Nice.
that was such.
Brian coming in clutch.
Yeah. So there's the 1970 swap that we were talking about earlier. It's actually pretty nice with a VMP blower on it.
Magical.
That car's pretty. Chad Dowd says, happy with VMP in my Gen 3. Also happy with HPtuners and their customer support. Great companies, product, and people to support. Keep up the great work, guys.
Thank you.
Sure.
Daniel Lopez wants to know, will I need bigger injectors to run E85 with long tubes and high flow cats? Also, will that set a check engine light?
We'll assume that your car is completely stock and it's naturally aspirated when you're asking whether or not you need fuel injectors to run E85. If your stock intake manifold, the long tubes aren't going to be make or break and whether or not you need an injector for that. So with a very narrow scope of what's done to your car or what car it is, probably don't need injectors as long as it's an 11 to 17 NA with a stock manifold. If you're installing long tubes without cats, it is very possible / likely that you'll get a check engine light for P0420, P0430. Car will still run and drive fine, but we can't make any guarantees as to whether or not you're going to get check engine lights.
Jim, when will the track app show gauges and all the PIDs with the MPVI2? And are there any updates on MPVI2 Pro ETAs?
That is the question around here. So the Pro feature set, I'm hoping that it will be done within a few months. The answer that we're given is soon. I don't know exactly how soon that is. I do know that it will be soon. And if you do have an MPVI2, it already has the spot. There's a plug on it for the expander hub. So when you get the Pro feature set later, even if you buy it now, you don't have to send the device back into us. You'll actually be able to download a software update and then plug the expander hub in. So the Pro feature set's coming soon. But within a few months, most likely. I can't give you any dates other than that. I'm hoping before SEMA. So
That'd be nice to have it before SEMA. Have something fun and new to talk about out there.
I think he had another question in there too.
I would have to go back and look.
It's okay. I remember hearing two parts of the question. I answered one.
Sorry. I can go back and grab it in just a second.
Cool.
King Cobra says, so can you tune an 04 Cobra with an HP tuner?
You can now, yes. So the MPVI2 does support 99 to 04 Mustang V8 models. So Mach 1, 03 Cobra, Mustang GT, as long as it's an 8-cylinder Mustang, it'll be supported with the MPVI2. It has the capability of supporting all EEC5. We just haven't defined them yet. So at some point we'll go back and add them. But as of today, 99 to 04 Mustang V8 is done. And then of course 05 and up Mustang all is supported through 18.
Nice.
When will the track app show gauges and all the PIDs with the MPVI2?
Yeah, you know, that was part of that will be tied to the Pro feature set. Right now it will actually work with some of the gauges, and some of that will also be tied into future releases, other things that we have planned. But in the meantime, you can still use TrackAddict, connect it to your MPVI2 via Bluetooth, and that's just a matter of clicking Find My MPVI2, and as long as this is plugged into your OBD2 port, you can connect it and at least monitor some data.
Nice. Yeah.
I actually used it on a boat the other day.
What?
I used TrackAddict on a boat, yeah. So I'll post the video later, but it obviously picks up your mile an hour off of GPS. So I did like a 8-mile run across Lake Winnipesaukee, and it showed average speed, top speed, and
That's awesome.
yeah, it was pretty cool. So you can use it really at anything that moves, but it's great in cars, at the track, or on the street.
It'd be nice to use that on the drag strip. Get some video to back up the data that you get across.
Yeah, for
sure. If looking towards 800 plus wheel on an 18 manual GT, will the throttle body limits on the new Roush blower make that difficult? Should I consider a different blower?
Well,
depends on what your end goal is.
Yeah, it depends on how you're going to get there and what fuel you're on. I mean, the 18 engine is really good. It makes all blowers look good. It's 12-to-1 compression. It's got a GT350 head, basically. I think we'll probably hit 800 wheel on our car pretty easily.
Yeah, especially if we go to E85, it shouldn't be hard at all to hit 800 wheel.
We're looking at, and of course, we've got smaller pulleys in the works. We're looking at how to best go about a bigger throttle body. You know, it's just going to depend on how you want to get there.
The underhood ice tanks that are going to be in stock next week, GT only. 11 to
14.
11 to 14 GT only. Is that correct? Will we have anything for GT500?
Oh, GT500. No, we won't. There's a lot tighter engine bay. There's not a whole lot of room for an ice tank. I have one that's probably about a gallon maybe, and I don't know if that's even worth doing.
Yeah. Do you know what the ETA is on 15 to 17 GT?
The new supplier came through on the ice tanks, so now we just need to get the 15 to 17 tanks in with them. Probably looking at like 6 to 8 weeks. So I'll get Joey and I'll get working on that.
Okay, so it's the 11 to 14 GTs that will be in stock next week.
Yep.
Okay, just making sure. William was asking.
Good question.
How many HPtuner credits would be needed to tune an 18 F150 5.0?
18 F150, if it's a 10-speed truck, it's 4 credits. So the good rule of thumb on the newer F150s is if it's a 10-speed truck, it's 2 credits for the engine, 2 credits for the transmission. If it's a 6-speed truck, it's just 2 credits, period, to tune it.
So Peyton wants to know, how do the credits work for HPtuners?
Okay, so the credits basically are a way of licensing a VIN number. And there's varying numbers of credits per application. Most are 2 credits. But basically what you're doing is you're paying for the right to tune that VIN number. And then once you've paid for that license, you'll never have to pay for that license for your vehicle again, as long as you're using the same interface to program your vehicle. So if you bring your car to a shop and they have an HPtuners interface, they're going to consume credits to tune your vehicle. If you go to a different shop, they're going to consume credits again. But if you have your own interface and you're doing your own tuning, or you're working with a tuner, again, you'll consume the credits just one time, and then you'll be able to continuously tune that one VIN number.
Poor Boy says, has there ever been a problem with the fuel pump in the 11 to 14?
Mustang.
I think,
yeah.
Are you saying like TSB related fuel pump issue, or if you've ever seen anyone have a failure of a fuel pump? Because if the question is if I've ever seen anyone have a fuel pump die, yeah, I've seen that. But there's not really any one specific problem with them.
There's not like necessarily a known issue or anything that happens all the time.
Yeah, he didn't say, that's all he said. So Jason says, I have a 16 F150 with a Roush Phase 2 supercharger, Cook's long tubes, and green cats. It made 542 at the wheels. Can I get more power out of a VMP tune? I'm using 93 octane.
Absolutely.
If you're using 93 octane on most of the setups that we do, it's between 580 and 600 wheel on a Phase 2 setup.
And if
on my personal truck, I've had the base tune, the Roush tune, and the VMP tune. There's a huge difference in power. I mean, probably 60 horsepower.
They leave a lot on the table. And the other thing that's pretty easy pickings on that setup is like a twin jet 67 throttle body. That's worth about 20 or 30 wheel, because the truck blowers, you end up running a smaller pulley. The truck setups, you run a smaller pulley to kind of make the same power as a Mustang because of the lower compression, and the cams aren't as efficient and everything. So
yeah, the other thing is speed limiter. You can't even get one of those. If you're at a decent track and your DA is decent, you can't even get one of those trucks completely through the 1320 without hitting a speed limiter.
Yeah, I think the speed limiter is at 105, and they like to trap about 110 or so. I think my truck would go 108 or so, bouncing off the speed limiter.
Yeah, it all depends on how much air is in your speedo.
Yeah.
Jaden said, what's the max power the Gen 3 will put out?
Ask Rebecca.
Yeah. I mean,
What air compressor is it bolted to?
yeah, what engine is it bolted to? I mean, the blower's only as good as the engine, but we've seen 1200 crank, which is over 1,000 wheel at this point so far. And, like we were talking about earlier, the supporting modifications have to be there. So, as time goes on, I expect us to push the combo even farther. Push various combinations even farther.
We're being asked what differentiates VMP tunes, and why should they come to VMP for their tuning?
Great question. So I have been tuning for 15 years, and that has kind of spawned I should say kind of, it has spawned the whole VMP company. And Joe has been tuning for many years now, and we're enthusiasts, racers, modders that like to make more horsepower and kind of have our cake and eat it too. The thing's got to run good, drive good, and be able to go fast. So all of our tunes are our own that we have researched and developed and created, and we make them available to our customer base with or without our products. I mean, we tune just about everything, whether it's got our VMP supercharger on it or it's twin turbo. That's the short version of it. Can you think of anything to add?
Vortec, all that stuff. The other thing is tuning support. We're very, especially if you have a PD blower, we're very versed in what works, what doesn't. So like GT500 or 5 liter with one of our superchargers, we know what works, what doesn't. So we can build you a more concise and clear plan on what you need to achieve your goal without wasting unnecessary money or buying stuff twice, stuff like that. We just, with the experience that Justin and I have, and now a couple of the other tuners that are in there now, collectively, if you stick with us from start to finish, you'll probably end up spending a lot less money than you would if you fumble your way around the internet finding used pieces and parts off someone's build that you think you're going to save $100 here, $200 there, that you buy the stuff, it doesn't end up working the way you think it does. But at the end of the day, it's all about the support you get.
And that's like, tuning the car's easy. Like, we've done most of these combinations before. It's working through installation errors or other bugs that may pop up that we've had to become highly skilled at because the cars aren't in front of us. And we do tune cars on our dyno every day in front of us, so we get that experience and we apply it to everything we do all over the world.
Speaking of which, we were just asked, do you offer online tuning or remote tuning as he's overseas?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we deal with, speaking of overseas people, I'm dealing with a guy in United Arab Emirates, a guy in Spain, a guy in France, a guy in Germany. There's another guy I was dealing with last week, Vladimir, is in Russia, in Moscow. He has a 0709 GT500
Oh, nice.
with one of our blowers and all that fun stuff on it.
Things are kind of coming in as I'm sitting here. Poor boy says the fuel pump was going in and out on his 13 GT. Has been, I guess, has died on him a couple times in the last few days. Twice today when he restarted, it backfires a little. So that's what prompted the question earlier about whether or not you've seen fuel pump issues.
Typically not to the not consistency, but the quantity that you're saying you're experiencing. Usually it's like a once every 5-6 years type thing. You'll see someone have to replace a fuel pump, but it's usually not over the span of like a month doing it 3 times.
David Clark says, if I wanted to get started using HPtuners, what kind of resources are there for learning how? Things like cam timing, etc. This would be for a 12 5-liter Mustang.
There are resources available. I will say that learning tuning overnight is something that just can't happen. It takes years of research. It takes a lot of time. You can get books and courses from companies such as the Tuning School, and you can be doing basic tuning in a short time. But mastering it really takes a lot of practice, a lot of R&D, being on the dyno, being at the track, being on hundreds of cars. Because what works on one car might not work on another, and there's just differences in hardware and strategy. So there is a lot to it, but if you fully apply yourself and decide, okay, I'm going to sink my teeth into this and learn it, you can. The upstart on the software is only $300. You buy the MPVI2, it comes with the software. You do have to buy credits for each vehicle you tune, but if you just wanted to try to learn on your own vehicle, again, only make changes you're comfortable with. You're better off working with a professional tuner who can make sure your tune is dialed in correctly. But if you really want to pursue getting into tuning, you can get books from the Tuning School. You can learn online on the forums. HPtuners has a forum that many of the tuner shops post in and share, even base files and stuff like that. So there is quite a community of support there. There's just a lot to know. So you know, don't kid yourself with how much time it will take to learn. But if you're ready to fully sink in and do it, you can learn it.
And while we're on the topic of HPtuners, I feel like something I don't see you guys promote too much that I think you should is the diagnostic capabilities of someone just getting an MPVI2.
Oh yeah.
Like say just at the service level, if someone at a Ford dealership doesn't want to have to worry about buying an IDS tool or buying a scan tool to scan codes, and maybe they want to tune on their own car too.
Sure.
But you can use this to some degree as a diagnostic tool. You don't have all the functionality of an IDS tool, but you get some of the basic functions that an IDS tool gets, plus a very good ability to data log and capture issues on screen and be able to scroll through it and find where exactly an issue occurs.
Yeah, in terms of a data logger, we like to think it's the best in the business because you can choose a PID row and you can actually run a histogram and replay your runs and see like a virtual dashboard. But yeah, it's an effective scanner, and you can also use it for things like doing simple things like gear and tire adjustments, raising your top speed limiter. Some of those small changes don't require much aptitude. It's when you get into hardcore tuning and cam timing and building timing curves and fueling, you want to make sure you know what you're doing. So the biggest thing is start slow, but yes, it can be used for simpler functions just like that.
Jeremiah Burgess says, best converter stall size for an 04 Cobra Gen 2 VMP, turning around 7,200 RPM, 355 gears on 28-inch tires.
Message us, Jeremiah. That would have been a question that probably would have been better suited for the converter day, but I know that we weren't taking questions on specific setups, so just shoot us an email.
Sounds like a plan. Dirty D 15, or Dirty D says, 15 with a Gen 3 with factory 373s. Do you think that might be too much gear? Would I be better off with 355 or 331s? Thank you, Joe, for impressive bass tune. Can't wait to see what else can be squeezed out of it.
Nice, nice. If I were you, I'd get the 373s out of there unless you like driving a tractor.
It's almost like a 28-inch tire or something.
Yeah, you're gonna have to put a really sticky tire on that. And if you're doing 1/8 mile work, it might not be so bad. But if you're gonna be doing 1/4 or half mile racing, or even just some
You said manual trans.
Yeah, just some Mexico or street shenanigans, I'd say put a 331 in the car. Would probably be your best bet.
Our TrackAddict car used to have 373s, and we actually had the opportunity to swap them from 331s. You know, I felt like the track time was very similar, but it, you know, definitely went through the gears slower and was a little easier to hook up. It's just kind of a, you know, like Joe said, it's way more ideal to have 331s with that much power.
My Mustang has 410s on it, so if we would put a blower on that, it would just be, you know.
Do you still have that?
I do, yeah.
Why does no one want that? That was such a clean car.
No, hold on. It's not that nobody wants it. I just haven't tried to sell it.
Oh, okay.
I keep going to sell it, and then I just get sidetracked and I do something else. Plus, I drive it a couple days a week, and then I like it, and I don't want to sell it. So it's got full suspension and all that, so coilovers.
Yeah.
But yeah, 410s. So if I ever put a blower on that, going back down to 331s.
For sure.
Poor Boy says VMPtuners are on point and will work with you and apply happiness with each tune.
Classic.
Einar says, hi, just wanted to clarify after... Wait,
Brain fart?
No, I'm sitting here reading this, trying to make sense of it.
Okay.
I think he was talking about the wheel hop. Is it the wheel hop question that we were finally like, okay, we've heard enough about the wheel hop?
Yeah.
So Einar said, I just wanted to clarify after Joe got annoyed last week that I was asking the same question week after week. The reason he is asked to be because the show did not fit the show 2 weeks ago. So he felt that he was asking it week after week because he felt it didn't fit the converter show.
Yeah.
And that's why he kept asking it. So he wanted to apologize and reach out.
It's all good, buddy.
William says, since Jim is there, any plans to have HPtuners device made for other platforms aside from Ford?
Yes, at some point. And again, the MPVI2 works on everything that we support. If you're speaking to the N-Gauge, yes, it works only on Ford and some GM applications. So at some point there will be, you know, things always progress. I'm sure there'll be more devices coming in the future. But at this point, the MPVI2 supports everything we support. And it can also be used in a remote tuning scenario. So if you're using a vehicle that you can't use the N-Gauge with, you can still use the MPVI2.
Actually, William Henn chimed in and said the MPVI2 device supports not only Ford, but GM, Dodge, Mercedes, Nissan, Audi, Volkswagen, etc.
I think you've missed the beginning of the podcast, William, because we covered that.
Yeah.
Bubba Blue says, last question, I promised, but what are y'all's opinions on ghost cams? Stang Bros have told me they reduce horsepower. Your input, basically the tune that gives you a cam lope.
That's basically it. They don't necessarily reduce horsepower unless it kills your cat at idle and you don't notice it and you go watt.
Yeah.
But it's that old nostalgic thing. And to us, from a tuning standpoint, it's cool to a point, and that point is when it's not really adding any performance. The whole reason we tune cars is to get more performance out of them. The whole advantage to TI VCT is that we can get great idle characteristics, great drivability characteristics, and still fantastic watt performance. And it's like you kind of want to take two of the things that's great about TI VCT and mess one of them up.
Like, so even if you cam a Mustang, you put aftermarket cams in them. Most of these modern Coyotes, when you tune them, they don't have any low.
And if they do, it's very slight.
Something unnatural. But I get it. I get the nostalgia attached to it, but really it's not a performance.
We should just put a B cam, an F cam, and an E cam on the website for 11 to 17 Mustang.
Mild lope, big chop, stalls at every stoplight.
Yeah.
Like that'll
be the different stages for it.
Yeah.
You get that old nostalgic effect of not being tuned for cams.
I'm not using my starter enough.
With questionnaire, do you want to look like, you know, you don't know how to drive, you're really cool, or...
Well, that's how it used to be.
Although
right? If the car didn't run or idle, that meant it was really fast. You had a fast car.
Exactly. And that's not to say that we can't get one running right. I did one like a week ago, really special request. The guy had cams in the car and he paid a lot of money for us to do it. And I did it. It drives exactly like stock. AC works, doesn't stall, comes right out of ghost cam, right off idle, but that's not that's not necessarily par for the course and not something I'm interested in doing remote on a bunch of people's cars.
And I think what, the thing with the Ghost Cam is you are breaking things to make it cam. You're doing unnatural activities.
You're having to disable limits on cam phasing at idle, overlap boundaries.
Potentially wearing things out sooner.
Yeah, it's just, do it if you want, but I don't really go out of my way to do it.
Aaron wants to know, can you tune a Hellion TTS550?
Yeah.
Already did.
Yeah, done a couple of them now.
See my upcoming video.
Soon. Ominously.
I think that's what Eric's doing.
Peyton wants to know, what's the highest
That's
RPM Coyote VMP has tuned?
I don't know. I think I've seen 80, 83, 8400 in TrackAddict before. I've never really seen the need to push it higher. I know that in Tri-Core we can go 9,000, but I haven't tried.
Yeah, I mean the RPM thing is kind of it's a function of the PCM. It's not, and of course then the hardware. Will the hardware support it? It's just a matter of how far is the engine built? How far can you go with the engine the way it's built?
Yeah, and how happy it's going to be. Is it still making power up there, or is it past the point of diminishing returns?
I would run Rebecca's car to 9,000 if I could, but the 11 to 14 ECU only supports 8,200.
Yeah. Your GT350 was pretty fun till about 8,400 in that range.
Yeah.
I had to drive that for a week while they were doing my blower install. So
That's right, you
that was
did.
fun.
When I used to have a GT350.
Yeah.
World's smallest violin playing right now.
Dale says, well, since we're doing the broken record thing, when can I order pulleys for my 18 Roush supercharged car?
They're being quoted right now. So we should have those. I'm just trying to think. We could put them up for pre-order on the website. But it's definitely being worked on. It's a fairly high priority. If you need something like sooner, I might have a couple samples. Just get with me personally. Let me know what you're trying to do. I'll see what I can do for you.
I can hear Christy having an aneurysm.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And I hear pre-order, so I'm making notes. Jesus Christ says, is there a way to fit a heat shield or cold air box into a 9904 engine bay, or will I just have to run an intake without the heat shield or box since it's a tight fit?
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
I've seen people with rudimentary heat shields in there. So if you can get a rudimentary heat shield to work, you can absolutely get a nice fabricated setup to work. I don't think you're going to find anything off the shelf that fits properly though.
Dale, who just asked about the pulleys, says, yes, please. And he's yelling at me in all capital letters.
Oh, man.
And exclamation points, so.
Well, you know what? The
faces?
cool thing about that is you can do our overdrive balancer to 5% or 15% and not even have to worry about the upper pulley. Because I think there's going to be some, quickly become some belt slip issues once we get small on the upper.
We have one more. We have 2 questions in right now.
How are we doing on time?
You are at 2:19, so you're doing pretty
we
good.
got some time.
Oh, one more came in. So Ryan says, would it make a difference to you guys if he did a watt log on the street or on the Mustang dyno?
It doesn't make a bit of difference to me how you capture a watt log. Just be prepared that if we're not done tuning your car yet and it's on a Mustang dyno, it may not perform up to your expectations.
Like, let us know that you're going to the dyno to get dyno numbers, and we'll like prep you for, okay, don't pull onto the dyno after, having the car all heat soaked and like make a run with the hood closed and expect a stellar number, like cool it off a little bit. And if there's no airflow over something, they really don't cool off very quickly. So
yeah, letting it sit in the parking lot for 30 minutes does not cool the car off.
No.
It heats up the downstream air temps even more.
And, for your given fuel, whether it's 93, 91, boostane, E85, there's a certain maximum timing level that's going to make more power. We don't come out of the gate with that and right off the bat. So, just work with us. Let us know that you're going to a dyno that you really want, like, hey, I want the dyno number. I want the car to be at its peak performance. And the way we do stuff, though, there's not like really a special dyno file.
No.
And we want the car to always make what it's going to make. So we just have to, you know, make sure everything's right and get it to that level.
Yeah, just if you're going there with the anticipation of just getting data, leave with that the same way that you came in. You're not coming there to make a glory pole dyno number. You came there to get data.
It's funny, you know, like we've been tuning cars for a while, but like you'll make the first pull on a car and the customer will come up to you and be like, "What'd it make?" And I think you've probably gotten used to this too. Oh, everything's good. You know, I'm just data logging it right now.
2 questions. What'd it make? How much boost? It's always how much boost, right?
Yeah. How much restriction do I have?
It doesn't matter.
You know,
Why?
when we're doing like in-person dyno,
So
yeah,
if you've got a service that he needs,
there's a lot of bartering going on.
I know that he's willing to work with people sometimes. So.
We're getting ready to start on our dyno building that'll have 3 dyno cells, offices, video installation studio. Do you like trenching, demolition work? You know, do you want
like
a
breaking
Bobcat?
concrete slabs?
Yeah.
Get a jackhammer.
No lack of work to be done around
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dirty D, who was asking about the gear set earlier, says on 331s it is. No plans on 8th with stickies. The manual will probably start breaking things. Quarter-mile track not too far away, looking for half-mile events.
Yeah, and just to clarify that whole gear swap question, I would try and find someone that wants 373s and swap them center chunks instead of trying to swap gears, because you always get those shops that are like, yeah, we can swap the gears, there's not going to be any gear noise.
What?
And then you get it up to 60 leaving, and it's singing like some singer in the 7th octave. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's worse than it's supposed to be.
You can probably get a center chunk for like $250 to $400 out of a wrecked car. You know, base 331 iron center chunk cars, it's got to be a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Poor boy who wanted to know about trading work says, I have 3 weeks paid vacation, so just let me know when.
Getting paid to get paid.
Dorian wants to know, how much power were you guys able to get out of the 18 Roush F150, or did it stay Roush tuned?
It stayed Roush tuned.
Yeah, he did the whole warranty deal and everything. So.
I think he'd be referring to Bully's truck.
Yep.
Yep. Funny question. Levi wants to know, Laurel or Yanny?
I don't got it.
I heard Laurel when I played it, so.
Oh, do you know that thing?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You
I heard
do.
Laurel.
So did I.
Yeah.
Are your dyno numbers SAE or STD standard when you give them out?
Or uncorrected.
There's a little thing in the top right corner of the dyno graph that will tell you which correction factor we're using on the dyno graph that you're looking at.
Josh says, did I make the lowest horsepower ever for a 13 GT500 with my 400 horsepower and 300 horsepower with a 2.4 pulley and twin 67 throttle body and resonator delete?
That is Josh Stoker, I believe.
It is Josh Stoker.
Yep.
He says relay for the heat exchanger pump was out.
Yep, that'll do it every time. But I don't know. I think I've seen a couple that got you beat at the 400 or 300 horsepower range on a 1314. But yeah, keep an eye on that thing. Make sure that thing doesn't go again.
So Jeff says, I realize you guys are PD blower first, but whose single or single turbo kit stands above others? As I'm sure you've tuned quite a few. Cheers, and I enjoy your Tuesday show.
Custom fabricated, I think.
By a smart person.
Yeah. I think Fat House Fab is doing a lot of that stuff right now.
Really good work.
Yeah. I mean, I've built a couple turbo kits myself, like way back when, and you know, it's all about like the design and the function and the efficiency and taking a bunch of different stuff into account. Limiting
Wastegate priority.
Yeah. Limiting like the amount of tubing everywhere and.
He says for the S197.
The S197, yeah. Yeah, I'd talk to the Fat House guys and see what they can do.
Hell yeah.
Slapjack says, since people say the factory boost gauge on the 13 to 14 GT500 is inaccurate and my gauge reads 20 PSI, does the car calculate boost differently from a dyno or a conventional gauge?
Yes.
So is he saying that during a dyno pull, is my boost going to be different than it is on the street? Or is he saying a mechanical gauge versus a pressure transducer on a dyno?
I think a mechanical gauge or a pressure transducer on a dyno is going to work differently than the factory boost gauge.
Oh, it's going to work very differently from the factory boost gauge. And to what everyone's been saying about that factory boost gauge not being accurate, it has the potential to be accurate, and it's usually only accurate in stock form. But once you start changing the cold air intake or the pulley size and stuff like that, then that factory model for boost is no longer accurate.
Starts to deviate farther and farther away.
Yep.
And could we make it accurate through tuning? Absolutely, but never had a need to.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to. There's aftermarket gauges that are going to be more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
We have one last question, and they want to know the power expectations from a whipple on an 18 with headers and E85.
Was that Zach?
Mm-hmm.
You'll find out, Zach.
I would say probably over 800 on E85 without too much trouble.
I mean,
maybe over 900, we'll see.
The E85 is, over pump gas, it's potentially 80 wheel.
Yeah.
On a power adder car, like the way I like to think.
And on a 12-to-1 car.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be really limited on what happens from a spark advance standpoint on 93.
You remember, Jim, when you were doing Shell Racing Fuel, I remember testing that on a GT500. We did the car on 93. We did it on Shell. We picked up 40. We did it on E85. We picked up like another 40.
Yeah.
I actually need to pull up those dyno results somewhere and put them somewhere, but...
Rick wants to know, have you tuned any blackbirds lately?
Not lately, Rick. Maybe soon.
And Josh says analog gauge is way better than the stock gauge. Daryl, we just got another question. Daryl says, how much horsepower can you normally make with a 15 to 17 GT with a fuel pump booster? My injectors are currently at 108 DC and ran a 6.1 at 115.7. How soon will it blow?
I assume he means 6.15 or 17 in the 8th mile. If so, that's a pretty fast car.
Yeah, that's quick.
But the booster setup, if you're running 6.1 in the 8th, you're probably past what a booster setup can do. If you're on a gasoline-based fuel, you're probably right on the edge of what it can handle. If I were you, I'd start looking at a return fuel system, or I know DW has that 400 pump that I still haven't tested, but seems to be doing pretty well on the 18 up stuff, so maybe that's an option for you as well.
Dirty D says, I have the trackpack with torsion. If I swap with somebody with 331s, is the torsion better?
For a car that's making decent to big power like yours is now that it has a blower, I'd say don't worry about getting a torsion, just get the limited slip. They're generally more durable than the torsions are with power.
Yeah, I mean, torsion works fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, a limited slip works fine in a straight line. Torsion's more like handling stuff.
Yeah.
Daryl, who just asked the question about the 15 to 17 GT with the fuel pump booster, he says it's C16.
Yeah, I mean, you can pretty easily data log what your fuel pressure is at watt. We sell a little CFM adapter that plugs in line of your factory fuel rail connection. Then from that point, it's just a matter of getting a pressure sending unit. It'll probably do like a 0 to 100 PSI pressure sending unit to a gauge, hook up some 12 volt, and then you can measure exactly how much pressure you're making fuel pressure wise.
Yeah.
If you got a car that runs 6.1 in the 8th, it should be fairly straightforward for you.
Josh Hubble just chimed in, says hi to everybody.
Hey, Josh.
And Jeff says, on higher horsepower 6R80 setups, do you have many customers running 273 rear gears to calm down that steep first gear in the 6R80? I'm aware of the 4-speed 6R80, but that too would require a gear swap.
We do. We did that on our 6R80 car, on Rebecca's car that she raced in the Coyote modified class for a year. The 273s definitely calm it down a lot. You're actually in first gear out past the 60 foot. The car wheelies better. It's more consistent. My only caution is you need a lot of power to drive that with that little gear. You need a high stall converter too, you know, something around 4,000 or 5,000 RPM, and like ideally like 900 plus wheel horsepower. But yeah, you can do it and it's nice. I mean, actually with the rev limiter, with the HPtuners patch, you can go through in third gear now pretty much with 273s. I actually have some 247s on the shelf too if you want to get really crazy.
Wow.
Dang. Did you get those out of like an old Bronco or something?
Yeah, man, there's a guy up in Georgia that I met at the NMRA swap meet a couple years ago, and he's like, he had a bunch of gears out on his spot, and I'm like, man, you got any 247s? He's like, no, but I know I have some in the old shed back at the shop, and he sold me a set.
247s for a
Yeah.
gear.
So now you need to find an application for them.
Yeah.
Dirty D, who was talking about the torsion, says he wants to autocross it.
Limited slip's still not a bad diff.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're not ever going to go to the track, you can try to swap your torsion diff in, but then you circle back to that whole gear setup conundrum of like, am I going to have enough gear? Or not, am I going to have enough gear? Am I going to get any gear wine or anything like that?
Did TrueTrack ever come out with did they ever come out with the TrueTrack for 15
Super
up?
88?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because that would be my differential of choice for drag or handling as a TrueTrack. All the Roush, like Jack Roush Jr. and stuff that road races, he runs a TrueTrack in his car.
Nice. Nice.
And with that said, it is 2:32, and we are out of questions at this time.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
Make sure you guys check out this new MPVI2 that HPtuners has out. If you've ever been considering tuning your own car, pick one up.
HPtuners.com. Or you can buy them from VMP.
True story. I know we've been selling a lot more N-gauges for you guys.
Yeah, those and I know direct flash tunes too, local tunes. Like on my truck, you tune mine direct flash. So
exactly.
And my truck drives better than stock with 600 rural horsepower. So
that's awesome. And my truck's tuned with HPtuners.
Yep.
My truck's tuned with HPtuners.
That's right.
Don't
Noticing
leave
a
me
trend
out.
here.
Yeah.
See, all the love is coming in. I'm seeing all the likes and all the smiley faces. I see a couple angry faces.
I always do that.
I know. Why are you so angry?
Why are you mad,
He's always
bruh?
angry.
Why are you
He just
mad?
say something on the internet.
Rabble,
You know.
I
rabble.
like how he said that.
You guys need to get more love. I don't see enough hearts.
I think it's my resting bitch face. I really think that's what it is.
Till next time.
Shit from Shinola just chimed in real quick. He said, Justin, you should buy Rebecca the 95 Cobra R that's for sale in Elkhart, Indiana at a local dealer. It's number 14 of 250 with 14,000 miles.
Wow.
It's really sweet. Candidate for her dream swap. They're asking $27K. And it's white.
We may need to look into that.
I like 95 Cobra R's, but I don't know if I could watch someone pull the stock drivetrain out of it. It's like, leave it alone. Buy a stock SN95 and do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Blasphemy. We'll see. We'll see.
We shall indeed.
Do that to a $3,000 car.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a $30,000 car.
Yeah.
I mentioned the angry faces and they give us more. Thanks.
See you next time,
Don't
everybody.
acknowledge the angry faces.
Bye,
Have a good day,
everybody.
guys.
Thanks.